This is going to be my Nuck If You Buck fight of the night.
Yeah, Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka 2. This is a rematch. Currently, we have Alex Pereira as a minus 135, Prochazka at a plus 114. Once again, another fight. Very difficult. Make a strong argument either way. Here's my argument. Here's my opinion. So, Prochazka at the plus 114 with Pereira at the minus 135. I feel like this should probably be, out of all these fights, the closest pick'em. And here's some reasoning as to why. Rewatching the first fight is the best indicator that you can go off of for rematches. So, Prochazka in that first fight, his biggest problem that he's had throughout his career, once again, like Ortega's grappling, this is Prochazka's strength. It's also his kryptonite. Very unorthodox, very careless, very low with his hands, just not very defensively sound with his striking. That's good because it really threw Pereira for a loop. Pereira really likes guys who are basically like carbon copy, textbook strikers. He's used to fighting those in Glory. He's used to fighting those in the UFC. He knows how to counter those. He knows how to exacerbate their weaknesses and downplay their strengths while increasing his strengths and downplaying his weaknesses. He's good with those textbook kickboxer types. He struggles with the weirdos like Jiri out there, just bobbing and weaving, taking his punches, eating it for dinner, that type of thing. He's not used to that. He's used to the left hook and they're going to sleep. Granted, I believe it actually was, can't remember if it was the left or maybe even the right hook that finished Jiri. But if I'm remembering the first fight correctly, Pereira was backed up to the cage, which I'm going to elaborate on that here in a second. Pereira was backed up against the cage. Jiri, I think, tried to shoot a takedown because he had had some success with that before. But before he could dip down, Pereira timed him beautifully and connected. I think it was from the angle I was watching, a right hook on the chin, not a left, that folded Jiri and led to the finish by TKO that Pereira had. So what I'm getting at with it is this. The grappling's the X factor because in the first fight, Prochazka had success taking down Pereira and just being a wet blanket. People really kind of read too much into his sub win over Glover because Glover is like Pereira's protege. He's the mentor to Pereira. So Pereira is the protege. Glover is like the mentor, like the vet giving him the advice and the coach and all that. But here's the thing. They read too much into that because even though it was a rear naked choke finish over Glover that Jiri had, it was set up from the strikes. Glover was pretty much already out of it, wasn't able to intelligently defend because if he was, had his wits about him and everything, he should have been able to easily defend that, get out, recompose himself, get back into striking range, or at least, hold him in guard, tie him up for a little bit, get his wits about him, that type of thing. So it's not like Jiri is some type of master at grappling. I think his grappling is a little bit underrated, and it might even be better than Pereira's because, man, Pereira still looks lost on the ground, which is baffling to me, knowing how good of a grappling acumen Glover Teixeira has, and knowing that Glover is a BJJ black belt and Pereira has trained with him and been mentored by him for so long. It's crazy that to me his grappling still looks bad, if I'm being honest. Like his grappling is just hands down the biggest weakness of his game, and he's only able to have success with it when he's going up against somebody. I don't know that Jan's bad, but once again, are people saying that Jan's a grappler? Because I heard somebody just the other day say Jan Blachowicz is a grappler because of what he was able to do to Adesanya, but it's like, what Pereira was able to do to Blachowicz, I don't know that I would say that about Blachowicz. Was it the altitude of Denver? I don't know. But Pereira was able to, impose his grappling on Blachowicz. So people think Pereira is a better grappler, but I just don't see it, especially against the guy who we're breaking down the fight, and that's Jiri. I think Jiri has the advantage. Jiri is the one who had top position in the first fight. Jiri is the one who prevented Pereira from being able to get up to his feet. The only reason why Pereira did get up, I believe, was because the round ended. like the bell rung. So that's why he was able to get up. He wasn't sweeping, he wasn't transitioning, he wasn't doing anything except just kind of being held up against the fence in bottom position. And Jiri was pretty much doing whatever he wanted to advance or look for a choke or whatever. So that's definitely an X factor that has some concern. Jiri, I don't think he's chinny. It's just he's just so, I hate how he takes shots. He takes so many shots. Like Rakic, not a guy known for piecing you up, and he was piecing up Jiri until Jiri just out toughed him. But Jiri did have some success, like I mentioned earlier, backing Pereira up against the fence. That's huge. He constantly had Pereira backed up against the fence, even when he got finished. That's a good advantage Pereira had, having the wherewithal when your back is up against the fence to not panic, to just kind of stay composed, find that timing, find that precision, and find the chin for the knockout. But he was getting tagged pretty bad each time he was up against the fence until Jiri finally decided to mix in the grappling. And he didn't really have much of an answer except extending his guard and trying to do like the long, like mummy type guard that Daniel Cormier kind of used when he was fighting. And that's great to an extent, but it's easily navigated around and it opens you up to body shots, and it still leaves your head open for hooks. It takes away the straight shots, but you can still get hooked. And this is where it's tough. I think this is a lot closer fight. I think a lot of people out there are really big fans of Pereira. I'm a big fan of Pereira. I'm also a big fan of Jiri. Unlike MVP and Gary, this is a fight where I really like both guys. I have a lot of respect for both guys, and they're both really talented. The two best guys in this division right now, hands down, definitely Pereira and Prochazka. And I would even argue this is a better fight than McGregor-Chandler. So as far as, hastily put together main event replacements, I'm definitely not poo-pooing at this one. I think it might even be better, but I can't keep dancing around it. As far as my pick, this is the last thing I'll say that influences my pick. When you look at rematches, people get really caught up in just picking whoever won the first time, and that's how I bent some people over and plowed them with the Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier too. Because I said it from the rooftops. That was a very close competitive fight. Though Dustin Poirier knocked out Justin Gaethje, it was tooth and nails. They both had their moments and everything. And it was kind of similar lines where Gaethje wasn't a crazy underdog, but he was respectable, just like Prochazka is. And I think people just got really caught up in thinking it was just going to be the same replay as the first fight. And I don't think that Pereira, for all the footage of him sparring without headgear, I don't think that's going to play a role in it. That guy that he was sparring pulled a lot of punches, avoided actually connecting on shots. That's not going to play a role. Yuri's claiming there's some shaman magic. I don't think that's going to play a role. What I think is going to play a role is I saw footage of Yuri training with a guy who that is a damn good sparring partner, because that guy was beautifully replicating Pereira down to his style, down to that little bounce, that weird little it's not karate boxing bounce, but you know what I'm talking about, like just like on the tip of your toes. Yeah, a little kickbox bounce. That guy was a really good imitation of Pereira. So that shows me that Yuri's taking this fight very serious. He's preparing accordingly. He's trying to find sparring partners that can emulate that style. I think he just got caught. I think he just got caught because he was doing everything right. He had a solid game plan. He was actually implementing that game plan. He wasn't abandoning it. And I think this time, another factor, in terms of rematches, he lost his rematch against Adesanya. So right now, Pereira is not exactly doing well in rematches. I know it's a very small sample size of only one fight, but I feel like it's about to be a sample size of two. And I feel like Pereira is going to lose this rematch. And I don't think it's going to decision. I do firmly believe that some guy's going to sleep. I don't blame you if you want to play it safe at the plus 114 that Prochazka is right now. But plus 165 KO TKO for Prochazka is not bad. Sub is plus 1,000 if you're feeling froggy and you think it could be a Glover situation. because he was actively trying to get the ground game going and employ that, and it was working wonderfully. But I think it would be a club and sub type situation like it was with Glover, where he just doesn't have his wits about him and he just takes it because it's offered to him type thing. So I'm just going to play it safe, I think, and I'm just going to go with the money line. As long as the money line stays at a plus, if you wait around and bullshit and don't place your bets until later and you find that the odds are closer or whatever, go KO, TKO, or sub to take the edge off. I don't think either one's going to decision. Both guys are too powerful, too strong, all that jazz. So KO, TKO is your bet, but I'm playing safe with money line at plus 114. What do you got?
I think, once again, outstanding breakdown, Bobby. It's hard to beat a guy at the UFC. It's harder to beat him again.
Right.
One of the things that we talk about is guys who back up and getting backed up against the fence. We say both of those are no-nos. Why is it a no-no? No, it's a no-no because once you get backed up against the cage, you've got nowhere to go. All of a sudden, you can either go left or right. There's no more moving back. You can only go forward, but there's a guy in front of you. So that's going to open you up to a lot more shots. His offense opens up a lot more, and then you automatically have to go on defense. So, like you said, he caught him against the cage. How often we just saw with Whitaker last weekend. How did that go for Alex Pereira against the cage? Not good. Not good. Right. Just because Jiri got caught last time, I'm not going to put that into account for this fight. Also, like you said, Jiri has, I think, quite a large wrestling edge against Pereira. Jiri also 22% of the bets, 13% of the money, and this line too. So 88% of bets are coming in on Pereira, but this line is this close, minus 135 and plus 114. I feel like they want to keep Jiri's plus money low. And they love right now that 13% of the money is on him. He's only paying out 13% of the money at plus 114. Come on. Right. It has to be Jiri, man. It feels like it has to be Jiri. Man.
It's a close fight. But, I mean, you can make an argument for either guy. But like I said, that's the beauty of this actually being a good card. Like, we complain about bad cards, and that's fair. That's deserved criticism. But we also point out when the matchmaking and the cards are top-notch. And this is a top-notch card with top-notch matchmaking. So
I wish that you could get the knockout at a much better price, because at plus 165, I mean, you're only getting like 50 more cents. It just doesn't feel like that's worth it. Just in case he gets the sub, in case it goes to decision. This is a title fight too. This is a 5-round fight. The over/under sit up. What is it? 1.5 for a 5-round fight. And right now the over 1.5 is minus 166. Unders at plus 130.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be over. It's not gonna be quick, but it's damn sure not making it 5. If I had to pinpoint a round 2 or 3, it would end. It's not going to be round 1. I'd say 3. If I had to pick a specific round, I'd go it probably ends at 3.
You can get the round props, the winning round. If you take round 3 to be the round that it ends, it's at plus 500. You can get round 1 at plus 200, round 1 at plus 200, round 2 at plus 300, round 4 at plus 800, round 5 at plus 1,100. Or fight to start round 3, you can get that at minus 110.
Yeah, they know that it's going to at least make it there. I don't think it sees the 4th.
Because once it get to the 4th, it jumps to plus 165. So it completely switches.
Both guys just have too much power. Too much power to make it.
I agree.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better Win Green, eh? To Better Win Green, eh? To Better Win Green, eh? Listen in and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spots from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better Win Green.